Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. I am Lena. I'm so happy you're here to chat about knitting and all the good things. I am so happy to be sitting down with you right here on this couch because last week being in a different room just felt so bizarre and the quality of the video was so bad that I just really value having the house to myself. And let's see how many times we're interrupted by dog barking and dog snoring. We shall see. Anyway, let's jump right into it. As you can see, as promised, this is the hat that I finished a couple weeks ago now. It is the Robin Beanie, and it's by Sari Nordland, and I knit it in Spin Cycle, dyed in the wool in the colorway Bad Egg. I love it so much. I cannot even tell you how much I love it and how glad I am that I just stopped hoarding this gorgeous yarn and just decided to use it, because that was my intention. I'd had this yarn for like a year and I hadn't knit anything with it because I loved it too much. And I finally got to the point where it's just like, what am I doing? You have Spin Cycle, this expensive, beautiful yarn in this colorway that you love. It was time to just make something with it. And I'm really glad I made this, because I feel like hats let you really enjoy and let other people enjoy a color on you. And it's just, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like every time you look in the mirror, you see the hat on your head, and it just makes, I just think it's like one of those things that lifts my spirits. This colorway in particular is just so spectacular. I mean, it is a little, neon in this kind of taupey gray. It could be construed a bit, crossing guard or construction worker, but I don't care. I love it. And it was so funny because all through this season of basketball, I've been knitting this hat, and well, mostly, but for the last month or so. And so I always see the other parents. And then finally one day I came wearing it and all the moms were like, "Oh, you finished the hat. It's so cute." It was just funny, like for non-knitters to see, the process between the making and then the wearing. And maybe we'll make some knitters out of them too, because I mean, what else are you doing with your life if you're not knitting? What else? The one thing I did want to say is I have made this hat before. If you've watched the last episode where I talked about this, I made it in a strand of fingering weight held with a strand of mohair. And I used the recommended needles. I didn't gauge swatch. I just followed the directions exactly. And I love that hat, which is why I decided to make this hat. However, because I was making it with just a single strand rather than a single strand with mohair, I decided to drop down the needle size. And I tend to really find most hats to be too big. I really like a snugger fit. Obviously not too snug, but I felt like the Robin Beanie, my original one, could have been just a hair snugger. So I decided this was a good idea. And it looked extraordinarily narrow. Like one of the moms, when she saw me knitting it, she thought it was a baby hat. That's how tiny it looked. And so when I got it, since it's a top down hat, you can keep trying it on. So when I got to the appropriate length, I was trying it on pre-wet blocking. You guys, it looked horrific. It was so awful. It's just it was very tight, and then it had this, it went in and then straight up. It just had this total pinhead look, and I hated it, and I was so worried, so disappointed, because I thought, oh, here we go again. It's like the ranunculus. Remember when I had this beautiful original that I loved so much that I decided to make a second one, and the second one was just such a disappointment, and I have to rip it out, which I still haven't done. And I was really worried that the same thing was going to happen. And to the point where I was just like, you know what? I'm never knitting the same thing twice unless it's really legitimately the exact same yarn. So for instance, the linen quill, making a ranunculus out of the linen quill rather than a different yarn, because we just don't realize what a change, just like one tiny element, if you change it, the final product really is different. However, when I wet blocked this, I didn't pin it out. I didn't do anything. I just wet blocked it, let it dry, and tried it back on. And it was completely transformed. I mean, like night and day. It just relaxed the ribbing. Ribbing is stretchy. So that's why I wasn't worried about it. But the way it just allowed the stitches to become what they wanted to be. And I am telling you guys, like, Spin Cycle is such a good hat yarn. I didn't realize this until this project. I actually think Spin Cycle is because it's such a structured yarn, even the superwash, like dyed in the wool, I believe, is superwash. But it doesn't have the drape of a traditional superwash. I don't know if they have a different process or what to make it superwash yarn, but it really has the feel of a non-superwash yarn. And so for me, it's nice to experiment because it gives you a better sense of what is the best use of my resources. We've talked about this a million times. Spin Cycle is so expensive. So you want to make it in things that are served by its qualities. So I've made, it's over there, my night shift shawl. I made it originally in superwash and alpaca, and it was just kind of like, I made it out of leftover yarns, and it's so ugly. Like, it's legitimately ugly. Like, I will never show it to you because it's embarrassingly ugly. Like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, why did I put these colors together? This was like very, very early knitting journey. I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, and I made it again last year in all Spin Cycle, and it's so beautiful, but I don't use it as much because it doesn't have drape. It has like a stiffness. It doesn't make me feel cozy when I wear it, which is such a bummer. And I also think that has to do with the mosaic knitting aspect of it, because it's got basically like the double strands across the back that makes it even stiffer, because my traveler shawl is made out of all Spin Cycle and it has enough drape. Still not a ton of drape, but like enough to feel cozy. So my point in saying all that is a roundabout way of saying, I think hats are best with structure. Like, if you make a hat in a non-superwash yarn, great. But sometimes we want those colors, right? The bright colors like I love. Well, this is a fantastic answer to that problem. So if you've got that odd skein or two of Spin Cycle and you like hand knit hats, some people don't. They just don't wear hats. I do. This is like completely lacks any itch factor. So I just think it's a fantastic combination. And I am not going to lie, there might not be another hat pattern in my future unless there's some reason, like it's not a basic beanie. This is the basic beanie pattern that I will use forevermore. I love the top down. It gets all the shaping out of the way, all the increases at the beginning, and then after that, it's just relaxing knitting. And I am not one of those people that dislikes ribbing. I actually really like it. I don't need it to go quickly. That's definitely not a goal for me. I like to kind of find the rhythm of ribbing. But I have many ribbed hats in my collection, but this is hands down the best fitting. I love the way the crown is shaped. It's not too pointy. I'm getting a phone call. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Anyway, my point is the Robin Beanie is the best. Sorry Nornlin is just so good. It's like forever going to be my go-to beanie as a gift, as for myself, I think it's just perfect. The only thing is it does only come in one size. So it's not like you could make it for a baby. But honestly, you could, because you're starting from the top, and you could just do less increases to make it narrower. Like because I was using a smaller needle and finer yarn, I actually did one extra increase. So there's, I think, 8, because it's like 2 all the way around 4 times. So I believe I have 8 extra stitches than the pattern actually calls for. But so in that way, it is completely adjustable. It's just you have to do that for yourself. She's not, she hasn't written that into the pattern. So that was a lot of information about a hat, but I really love it. And I am so excited that I have it. And it's been so snowy, you guys. Like, we have gotten so much snow consistently here in Boulder. It's been magical. I love snow, but it's often means it's gloomier. And this just is like a ray of sunshine, literally, in my life. I love it so much. And that takes me the perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about next, which is I originally had 3 skeins of bed egg. Now I have like 1 3/4 probably. So it took 1 ball and a little bit of the second. And I was like, oh, now what am I going to do with this, right? Like, this is the problem with leftover yarn. It's so hard to find exactly the project you want to use it for that doesn't involve then having to go buy more yarn. And this is how our yarn stashes grow and grow and grow, because if you're going to use this for what you want, you're going to have to buy this thing over here to make that work. And that's just sometimes really frustrating, because no matter how much we try to use the resources we have, we might be using it from this end, but then we're feeding into the stash from the other side. And that kind of drives me crazy. So I was thinking, I love, in the summer, I think like those bralette patterns and stuff are really lovely for layering. And so I was kind of thinking about that. And then I got an email newsletter from Jessie Mae Designs, who I adore. I think she has the best modern basic knitwear patterns. She is completely, to me, there's nobody better. She has a truly like clean aesthetic, but her pattern writing is immaculate, and she does a fantastic job of size ranges from like double XS to 4XL. Just really, really takes into account how widely, different our body types are. And that's why I think her stuff fits really well. Anyway, it was her birthday, so she had a fantastic birthday discount. I'm sure you guys also saw that and used it, I hope, because she's the best. But she had also written in her that email newsletter, she had written about how I guess there's some group that's just circulating patterns and distributing them for free without everybody paying for them. And she said, somebody forced it to be taken down, but then this person, whoever was doing this or whatever group, said they were going to just set up and do it again. And, her email was about how hard she works to support herself with her knitting business, and how much work it is, how much effort she puts in, how small the margins are, how critical everybody who uses her patterns, how critical it is that they actually are paying that price, because this is her livelihood. And it was so touching and so impactful, and I wish it was something everybody could hear. So I encourage you to seek it out if you didn't read that, if you go and sign up for her newsletter. But it's just important for us to value the labor that goes into these things, and to support the designers that are giving us these incredible resources to enrich our lives, our creative lives. And I just was really happy that she spoke up in that way. It wasn't finger wagging. It was just informative. Like, she's the first person in her family to go to college. She grew up very modest means. And, for her to be realizing her dream of supporting herself in this way just was, I want to support her. So I instantly went over to her shop and I tried to find every pattern I might want to buy, and I bought it on sale. So that's wonderful for me, but I also wanted to just support her. And one of the things that I saw on there that I bought was, I think it's called the Totally Tank. And it's like a simple scoop neck tank top that's so cute. And I thought this is the perfect pattern for the rest of my bad egg, because it's top down, which normally her bralettes and stuff are bottom up, which I like top down the stuff better. So that way I can make it and use up all my yarn and just make it as long as it will be. And then it's like a fantastic layering piece. It's not something I personally would wear like alone, because I'm not wearing like super tight crop tops at 45, but absolutely no judgment. If you are, rock on. I just am not doing that. But I think it would be a really nice piece, especially because in the summer, I will not be wearing this hat, but I would be able to wear that tank top. So the Totally Tank Top, so cute. I love it. I love a scoop neck or a V-neck, and I really like the shape of that. The trick is, like, for me, always finding the right size for that, because I am very flat-chested, and so when something is stretchy, it tends to just stretch all the way out. But now that I'm saying that, I don't think this is in ribbing, so maybe I wouldn't have so much of that problem. And as predicted, we have a snoring issue here. So I assume it might be driving you crazy, so I'm going to shift her elsewhere, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I don't know if that irritates you, but it irritates me, and I find myself like losing my train of thought when she is snoring loudly. She is the loudest dog. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Totally Tank. Yes. So that's what I'm going to make with this. And the other pattern I bought that I don't know how this didn't land on my radar. Like, I'm very usually on top of what Jessie Made is releasing, and it totally passed me by. I don't remember what it's called. Hopefully I'll put it up on the screen. Sunset or Sunrise sweatshirt or something like that. It just looks like I have been looking for a basic sweatshirt kind of pattern for ages. I mean, it's kind of absurd that I've just not been able to land on the right one. There's so many designers with so many, like Kadri, Petite Knits, my favorite things. They all have their version of it, but I never was like taken with any of them. And since she's one of my favorite basics, no, she is my favorite basics designer, I was like, yes, I'm in, because I really, like, as you can see, I'm a very athleisure dresser, and I do not really wear, like, I'm really going to try to start knitting more things that I actually wear, and not just things that look good on someone else or look really fun to knit. So I bought that one. I have like 10 different, sweater quantities of yarn that I feel like I could assign to that project, but we'll see when. I'm not really in a sweater making mood right now. I feel like after I finished that cardigan, I don't know, I just kind of am in the mood to knit things that I'm not worried when they're done that they're not going to fit well, or they're going to be disappointing. I think that's so frustrating. And when you're like, my life stage right now is just not conducive to that. And like, that ranunculus is still sitting there unripped out, and it's super irritating, and I haven't had time to deal with it. So I definitely am taking a little beat from garments. But when I'm ready, those two are going to be there, and I'm going to be pretty happy about it. Okay, let's move on. I want to show you this, even though I hadn't planned on it. I have taken a break from this for a couple weeks, I think, because I was finishing that cardigan and I was finishing this, and just, I don't know. It's been so bonkers that it kind of just was off my radar. And then I picked it back up the other morning when I had like 10 minutes before my kids, well, like between studying and my kids waking up. I try to squeeze in a hair of knitting because I feel like it's a nice transition for me from studying early, then doing a little knitting, and then being ready for my family to wake up. Like I feel like I've gotten some things I need to get done, and then something little for myself kind of helps me buffer that moment. Anyway, so I grabbed my rain or shine blanket. I had forgotten how much I love this project. And I was very happy to be reminded how much I love this project. I don't think I can show you because we're pretty big now. I'm gonna make sure my stitch stoppers don't, because sometimes they're loose and then you guys, oh my gosh, it's just almost too much for me to absorb the way I feel about these colors. I might just try to put a picture up of as much as because this is really hard to show at this point. But we started here and we're finally repeating. So this bit is the beginning. So it's been a long journey. I believe it is, at least, is it? I think so. Yeah, it does. It does appear to be so. We made it to the beginning of the colors again. I'm still increasing. So this is a square. And so you increase and then you start decreasing. I am still on the increases. Almost, I think your goal is 344. That's what Stephen West's big size is. I think I was at like 306 or something at the beginning of these two colors. I'm not going to, again, this is like my eternal project is kind of how I feel about it. It has no finish line for me. It's the joy of knitting, pure and simple for me. I am a color driven person, and knitting with these colors and in garter stitch no less, I'm not, my eye is not on the finish line at all. So I don't care if I continue to have to increase. My concern is more, is there going to be a point at which the 2 packets of mini linen quill skeins, am I going to need more yarn? That would be something I really would like to avoid. But even then, whatever, that's a problem for future me. But I am telling you guys, the color situation, it's just such a joy. And it's not just color, it's also tone. And like even working through these grays, you get to see all these beautiful tones. They just like melt into each other because it's marling, which, as you know, is 2 colors. You drop one, then you add in the next, and so on and so forth. So you get this really gorgeous progression of color, just like one color falling into the next. This section, the grays, it's very, very blendy, right? And then you kind of look at the greens and it's less blendy. You can, distinguish the stripes more, but I'm just in love with it. It makes me so, so happy. And especially the sections where I've held an additional strand of mohair, it looks so pretty. I don't know if you can see it because, oh, there you go. You can kind of see the halo. I have a gorgeous orange knitting for olive mohair that I'm going to carry along with the next ball, which is super orange. I am so excited about that part. So I'm really jazzed. It's just been an absolute pleasure. Even though I took a beat and hadn't really thought about it, picking it back up, I was just instantly transported to pure knitting joy. And I know I've talked about this before, but these Addy, I think they're Addy Rockets, or Turbo, I don't know what they are. I just love this needle. I cannot tell you, I really can't tell you, I cannot describe what it feels like to knit with them. There is a completely different experience than knitting with the Chow Goose. And honestly, I love how they are not as sharp. Let's see, I'm trying to see if you can see how much duller they are. And I actually love that for this project. Normally, I really like the ChiaoGu's sharper tip because if you're cabling or doing anything like that, it just makes more sense. But for this project, to just have this buttery, I don't know. You just have to experience it. If you haven't, I really wish I knew what they were. Are they rockets or turbos? Because I know Addie has different types of tips. Who knows? Who knows what kind of tip that is? I just want you to be able to go find them for yourself. But they really are spectacular. They're the perfect match for this project. They're not even like this cord is not that long. I've just been jamming it, all these stitches. I have not found any reason to have a longer cord. I enjoy having my stitches more densely packed. So anyway, because this has been such a happy spot for me, I wanted to share it with you today. I was thinking about it the other day, like this rises to the level of if my house were on fire, I would grab this. It just feels very precious to me. There's something like, I wish you could feel it. It just has the most lovely feeling. The double linen quill is just beyond my wildest imagination. Like if you like linen quill, please do yourself a favor and make something held double. It doesn't have to be this, but it makes the loveliest fabric. I know some of you have knit the half and half triangles wrap, and it's one of those love-hate relationships. I would say it was neither love or hate for me. I was sort of in the middle. I'm glad I made it. Would I want to make one again? No. And I think that's because I like linen quill better held double. And that giant half and half triangles wrap knit single takes a long time, and then it's just very thin. But then I'm thinking you actually wear it double most times because you literally fold it in half, thus the name. So maybe it gives you the same feeling, but this guy is truly something I could just go on knitting forever. I would totally make the shawl version too with mohair held double. That is on my life goals at some point. But anyway, this guy is just going to be the most loved thing in the world. And I was texting with Jessica this morning, just like, I am shocked that I like knitting a blanket. I really did not think I would enjoy knitting a blanket. I just thought, like, good gracious, like how long is that going to take? But now I'm actually so into this extremely long-term kind of background project that, you know, if you don't know what to pick up to knit, that thing is going to likely be still undone and really bring you joy. So I've got my eyes on a couple of other Stephen West blanket patterns because he has so many good ones and such a variety. Like this is a really simple one, but he also has like the blankets based on his mystery knit along shawls, and I think some of those look really fun. Like what's it called? Slipstravaganza or Fantastic? Is that what it's called? Anyway, go look it up. Go give yourself the gift of scrolling through Stephen West's genius, and you'll come out the other side happy. Finally, let's talk about this shawl, this brioche shawl, because I need to show you what's going on. My throat is feeling dry from all the yibber-yabbering. Okay, this is the Feel Good Shawl by Andrea Mowry, and I am loving it so much. I can't wait to show you. Last time it was a baby. Now it's, you know, it's like a toddler that can't walk yet. It's a pre-toddler. It's definitely, because it's brioche, growing slowly, and it is so on point. This is the front side officially, and then this is the back side. And I have to say, I think I like the backside better. I'm shocked. I did not expect to like this fluffy alpaca, this beautiful muted celery color. I didn't think I would want that to be the dominant color. And then the YOLO, Wandering Flock YOLO, that's this color. And then I am using the Sadness Garn Kos in whatever this color is that I can never remember the name of. Anyway, this is like I said, the right side. I picked it so that the spines, I always think of them as spines, would be in that bright yellow. But you guys, look at it's just something ethereal about that cloudy celery color against the neon. It's just, oh my God, I love it so much. It's beautiful. I feel like the light is not doing it justice. I don't know, maybe it is, but these two colors are born to be together. Like, it really is so on point with this hat. But the fluffiness against the kind of much more crisp, traditional kind of yarn, it really reminds me of like an overcast day when the sun starts peeking through the clouds. That is what this feels like. And I might stand alone in this, but I love brioche. It's such a soothing rhythm, and the result is worth double the work. So basically, of course, it's not basically, you actually are knitting every row twice, right? You're sliding your stitches and then sliding the back and then turning and doing the same thing. It's double the knitting, but it's also double the beauty. It's double the squish. The squish factor is incredible, and it's different than holding two strands together. Like, that's what this blanket is, right? There's something different when I'm trying to think why that is, but there's something different when the way the brioche creates these layers, probably because one stitch, the dominant stitch on this side, is forward, and then the other one is behind it almost. So it literally creates just like this pillowiness. I don't know. If you don't know how to brioche and you've wanted to, I encourage you to just step out of your comfort zone and try. When I taught myself to brioche, I just taught myself on like a 20 stitch square. I just kept going over and over and messing up and messing up and messing up. It took a long time for me to understand conceptually and, how to execute it actually. Stephen West has some brioche tutorials. That's what I used. I'm sure there's tons of brioche tutorials out there, but I really think if you haven't ventured into brioche, just try it. It is a really unique technique that you can't really get that look or feel in any other way. And so this is a fully brioche shawl, which if you had told me that I would be venturing into that, I would have said, no, thank you, very politely. But I did venture, and I am so happy. And again, there's no timeline for me. It can just unfold as it wants to unfold. So I don't even know how many stitches I have or at what point. I just know I have a long way to go for this color section, so I haven't started checking in with stitch counts or anything. But I think it's nice that this shawl does not just stay with those two colors. Like Stephen West has some fully brioche shawls. What is it called? It's so beautiful. I forgot. It has these big increases and decreases. It's much more, I think it's a more advanced one. This is a beginner. The increases are very small and simple, but I've like a ton of stitches coming out and coming together. Beautiful, beautiful, but in one color or two colors. I really like this because it's all simple, not a ton of crazy brioche, but it's like one color and the second color combination and then the third. So for me, someone who loves moving through colors, I think it'll keep my interest. So that is that. I think that is all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I continue to be very proud of myself that I'm actually still knitting because I feel like life has just veered off in a different direction for me this year. And I'm very happy to still be knitting. And I'm telling you, I feel like maybe a lot of you can relate to this, but small pockets of knitting time really do add up. It doesn't have to be like if I can't sit here for an hour, why even bother? 5 minutes here, 15 minutes there adds up. So moving out of knitting life to just plain life, this year, because I'm back in school and it's been much more work than I anticipated, I had told you guys a couple of weeks ago that I had just felt like I'd completely lost interest in fiction. Like I just couldn't engage in it. I couldn't find interest in it. I just don't know what happened, but I just really, that part of my brain just felt like it was like, it reminded me of when a kid doesn't want to eat something and they're just like literally physically holding their mouth like, no, thank you. I don't want that. You cannot make me eat that. I felt like that. Like, no, I cannot. Then I felt like a little bit sad because I have been such a reader for my whole life, like devour books. And I felt really sad that the entry of this incredible phase of my life, like the going back to school and being so passionate about the subject matter, felt like it was pushing out this other thing that I really got a lot of meaning and joy from. And not just like in a superficial way, like I felt like fiction is very enriching. I think it's not frivolous. It has a substantive value beyond entertainment. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not watching junk TV anymore, and that's probably just good all the way around. It was like losing a part of myself that was a really big part of my identity, my ability to like connect with friends. Like I have one really, really, really good friend, and we are book people. We talk about, we meet for lunch. We used to meet for lunch a lot and talk about books, and she reads a ton, I read a ton. And I just felt really sad. And then Oprah announced a new book, and instantly my interest was piqued. I instantly was like, ooh, that, and it was the first time I felt, ooh, about fiction in months and months and months. And I decided right then, like, okay, this is worth really making space for again. For instance, like I was analogizing it in my own head to like when you start dating a new person and you're just so head over heels and everything in life feels like black and white, and then that person feels like they're in technicolor, and like you don't need to hang out with your friends, you don't need to go to class, you're just like, my world has come alive. That's sort of how I felt with my master's program. Like, oh my, where have you been my whole life? Like I feel so passionate about it. And then, you start getting into your settled relationship and you're like, maybe it's probably good for me to go have dinner with my friends every week, once a week. Like I cannot just give away everything and then suddenly have this very lopsided life. And that is what I felt about reading. And so when I felt curiosity about this book, I listened to the sample, loved the narrator. I thought this book reminded me of one of my favorite books, which is Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano. Love, love, love that book. I've read it like 3 times. And I thought this sort of has that feeling. And so I'm going to get it. And I'm going to get it so that I also stop just over consuming current events in podcast form, which I tend to do. And I thought, like, even if I reduce that by 50%, let's be realistic, that would be a really positive thing in my life. And I'm so thrilled that I decided that there was value and that I had to push myself back into that because, again, fiction is so great and restorative and eye-opening and experience widening and all the good things. So if you are a fiction lover, you know what I'm talking about. But I am loving this book. It's called Dream State. Also a fantastic yarn reference. The cover is beautiful. The story feels like it's going to be rich and human, and I love rich human stories. So I'm very excited. Oprah is I love her so much. Like all through high school, I remember I would come home from school and watch the Oprah Winfrey Show. And she's just been such a formative person in our lives, so much of our lives, that I will read or do anything she says. So I'm very excited to be reading an Oprah's book club at the time when it's her actual selection. What was I going to say? I was going to say something and I forgot. Anyway. Oh, I think I was going to I was saying I overconsume current event podcasts, and I was telling my family, like, okay, it was on Wednesday. I was telling them over in the morning, I said, I'm taking a news fast. I'm not going to listen to anything or read anything until like for the rest of this week, which to me was defined by Friday, not even Saturday, Friday. So 3 days. I lasted about 7.5 minutes, probably. I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment. I can't stay away. And I was telling my son in the car this morning, I feel like the person at the AA meeting with like dried vomit on their shirt from their last alcohol incident, running away screaming with 2 bottles of booze. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Like I feel that way about like staying atop current events. I know it's not good for me and I can't stop. It's not that I won't stop. It's that I cannot stop. And so, I think if the best I can do is displace some of that with actual fiction, then maybe that's as good as I can do right now. I'm just cutting back on the drinking, not going completely sober. Absurd. Anyway, if you can't cry, you might as well laugh. What else? Today is the last day of my son's freshman basketball season at school, and he is so ready for it to be over because then it's club basketball and he loves his club team so much. I, on the other hand, find myself extremely emotional about it and I'm just struggling with it. He's a freshman. And when you think of everybody with a high school kid, it's like, oh, it goes by so fast. It goes by so fast. And I can appreciate that intellectually, but to actually see 1 of 4 seasons is over, 1 out of 4 sounds a lot more, it just is such a big part. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm just so sad. Watching my boy play basketball is the best thing in the world. I just love it. It's like our family is like built around this sport in so many ways, and it's really heartbreaking. And so I hope they have a good last game. It's a really hard one. I don't know if they can pull it out, but I am very excited about that. And again, it's bittersweet. If you have grown kids, I know you understand that feeling of time just ticking is, oh, it's horrible. And on that note, actually, I'm just spinning all over the place, but I want to say one more thing about a book, which is that book I told you about by Oliver Berkman called 4,000 Weeks. I finished it and it was just truly life-changing. Like truly one of those books that I am not kidding when I say, because I'm the nerd that highlights books, is like half of it is highlighted. It's just, wisdom being dropped on every page. I just feel like I need that whole book to be absorbed into my brain every month. Like I probably need to like read sections of it over and over and over again because it's just so fantastic. It's such a fantastic reminder of how we should live and how we should approach our lives and our time and our precious few weeks on this planet. And I don't know, he articulated things that felt very kind of nebulous in my own mind, but he just nails it, and he just says what you know, but you can't really articulate it. He articulates it so beautifully. So if you haven't read that book, I really encourage you to. And he just released last year, I think, his follow-up. I just got it in the mail today, and it is such a beautiful book, and I'm so excited to have it in my possession because it's like neon orange, and it's, I love a neon. I think it's called Meditations for Mortals, and it's basically the same topics, but just essays. I don't really know. I haven't started it, but I'm really excited. I might not read it right away. I might read another book in between, another nonfiction book, but 4,000 Weeks just got me on a complete nonfiction kick, and very importantly, on a physical book kick. I have always, ever since the Kindle came out, I was an e-reader person. Just because I read so much, it felt very wasteful to have books. And ever since I deleted Instagram, there's something that has shifted. It feels like one domino has rippled through my life, and I am finding so much joy in detaching from my devices. I felt like reading books on my iPad was breaking my brain. I couldn't concentrate, and I found myself, either a text would pop up or I'd think of something and then want to go Google it, and it was not working. And the joy I have found with holding a book in my hand and physically being able to highlight it, and physically literally putting my devices away and not seeing a text or a notification. I'm a convert back to where I began. I cannot tell you how happy it makes me. And yesterday, I ordered a couple of books that I know I want to read, and now I have them, and they're physical, and that has been a real gift and a real shift in my life. And it's so easy for everything to kind of become this digital thing, and it just felt really nice. It slows me down in a really incredible way too. I'm not trying to multitask. I'm really focused. I'm not knitting and listening. I'm just reading, and that has just been a really nice way for me to end my days every day. I've been reading before bed, and I just really like it a lot more than being on a device and reading. So anyway, all right, y'all. I am tired now. My voice is tired. I have to walk these dogs before we leave for the evening. And so I need to go do that before this afternoon's game. I hope you have a lovely weekend in front of you. I can't believe it's Friday. My kids had weird holidays last week, so it just feels like this weird day. It doesn't feel like Friday, but I'm so happy it's Friday. We're having dinner with some of our best friends tonight, and I cannot wait, because the best people are the people that you can laugh about nothing with until you pee yourself and talk about all the deep things. And these are those people. And I am counting the minutes till that. It feels extra special. I don't know, with all the craziness going on in the world. So whatever you're doing this weekend, I hope it's divine and that you sink into it and really enjoy the moment. Go get 4,000 Weeks. Infinite plugs for 4,000 Weeks. One of the best books I've ever read. Go knit, go be with your people, and I will see you next time. Bye.